Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 1.5 in our Historical Foundations unit, where today we're actually going to introduce you to thesis development, and we're actually going to introduce you to the thesis formula. For some of you, this is going to be review if you've been here since ninth grade, but for some of you that this is your first year at Y-High, this may be new for you. So by the end of the lesson today, you should be able to explain what a thesis statement is. You should also be able to explain the key components of a thesis statement, which are local and broader context, counterclaims, supporting points, and your thesis statement. And you should be able to identify a strong versus a weak thesis statement. So before you do anything else, the thesis formula is the most important thing that you need to know and recognize. This is why it is very large and in bold print. So pause and make sure that you write this formula down. You have memorized it, because this is going to be the formula you're going to use for the next 2 years while you're here at Y-High taking IB history. So first and foremost, LCBC, X, however, A and B, therefore Y. This is all going to be a paragraph. So LCBC should be about 2 to 3 sentences in length. These are local context and broader context, so there's about 2 to 3 sentences there. However, A and B is usually one compound sentence, but it can be 2 sentences. So this right here could be 1 to 2. So we've got 2 to 3, and then we've got 1 to 2 here. Therefore, Y should be 1 sentence, so all of this together should be 1. And all of these items make up your thesis statement. So this whole paragraph is your thesis statement, okay? So again, this formula is what you're going to use, and this formula is a paragraph formula, and you're just going to plug things in, and you will always get great results if you use this formula every single time in IB history. So breaking things down further for you to better understand these concepts, let's first take a look at LC and BC, which are local context and broader context. So these all sound very difficult, so we're going to try to explain them for you. So first of all, LC stands for local context, which consists of facts about the event. This is who, what, when, where. Okay? Who, what, when, where. Broader context consists of bigger picture themes or eras or about the events, and focuses on how and why. Okay? So hopefully that will help some people, but we'll do several other examples later to maybe broaden that a little bit. But the basic purpose of LCBC is to set the tone or set the scene. So you're trying to whet the person's appetite. You're trying to draw me in. So that's the reason why it's the very first thing that you do. It's the first 2 to 3 sentences of your paragraph to kind of set the tone and set the scene, and then kind of draw me into the essay, draw me into your argument. And in essence, LCBC provides the background information that you need for your entire history essay. Now, X is your counterclaim, and this represents the strongest point against the argument that you're trying to make. We call this the counterclaim. It can also be an alternative viewpoint, so if you like that sounding, that you can use that term as well. This X needs to be explained with evidence. However, you do not do it in this part. Do not do this here. So this is no. Do not do the evidence part here. You have the second paragraph of the essay outline where you're going to give all that context. So right now, the X is just your counterclaim. You're going to give one statement that's going to say as to why your thesis could be wrong, or why your claim could be wrong. Okay, and it's just one sentence, because you're going to spend the second body paragraph, or the second paragraph, which is your first body paragraph, explaining your counterclaim and giving all the context that you need for that. Okay? So A and B is our next topic, and A and B are your supporting points, and so they represent the 2 strongest points for your argument. These will be the 3rd and 4th essay paragraphs that you have. So your first paragraph is going to be your thesis paragraph, the thesis formula. Then your first body paragraph is your counter, and then you have your first supporting point, your second supporting point, and then your conclusion. Okay, so that's with the 5-paragraph essay format. So this is your 3rd and 4th body paragraphs. You may not, under any circumstances, this is not up for negotiation, you may not deviate from this in any capacity, even for your historical investigation. The HI is a 5-paragraph essay, and that is it. It is nothing more or elaborate, so do not turn it into anything more than it is. However, if you choose to do your extended essay in or what is called the EE, and you'll get more information about that from Ms. Young, if you choose to do the EE, yes, you may deviate from that because you have a larger word count. But for the HI that you're going to be working on in IB history, do not deviate from this formula in any capacity. So the next thing is why, which is our claim. So this is the last sentence in the formula, and it represents the position that you will be taking. In other words, the stand that you have on the prompt that has been provided for you. Your why must be clear, and it must ATFP, which means address the full prompt. Okay, so whatever the question is if you whatever question has been presented to you from the IB or from your instructor, the first thing you need to do when you type out your why sentence is, does that sentence answer that question? If the answer is no, then this claim is weak, and you need to either rework it or figure something else out. So this will be an easy thing for you to do. When you write out your why, write that sentence out next to the question that you have been provided. If it answers it, great. If it doesn't, then we have some work to do. Okay? Your thesis statement is not a question, so there should be no question marks at all anywhere near this statement. Okay? So it is a sentence. Make sure you keep it so. So let's look at a couple of examples of a weak thesis and a strong thesis. So here is an example of an essay prompt, and this is actually a real essay prompt that comes from an IB history exam. And the question is, evaluate the effects of the 1979 revolution in Iran. Okay, and this is from History Exam Paper 3, History of Africa and the Middle East. This was a legitimate IB history question. Okay, so the next screens you're going to see are examples of thesis statements that would address this prompt. Okay, so let's take a look at which one is weak, which one is strong. So in a weak thesis, here is this student's response to that prompt that was given. The nation of Iran no longer wished to live under a king, so the Iran Revolution happened in 1979 that brought many changes. Although the revolution brought some positive changes, there were some negative changes as well. It's short, it's sweet, it's simple. So let's take a look at it. Let's give it some praise. First of all, there is some context given. It's clearly here. The student knows 1979, so they know that the revolution of 1979. They know that people in Iran did not wish to live under a king, which was the Shah. So they do know that. So they do give us some context. The counterclaim and claim are given. So they have at least give us set up that their body paragraphs. There are some areas for growth. So first of all, a lot more context is needed. This is short, sweet, and simple, and it works. And it gets the job done. But there is more context needed. They also need two supporting points. Okay, so we need two supporting points, not just a claim and a counterclaim. Okay, so you do need two supporting points. So that's an area of growth. And then the question was asked to evaluate. So that was what the question was asked. Was you have to evaluate. In order to evaluate, you got to give something like a grade or an assessment to it. So this means that you must address the evaluation of the revolution, not just that it had some good or bad effects. So you have to give it some type of evaluation, and clearly this thesis statement had not yet done that. Let's take a look at this strong thesis. In the latter part of the Cold War, Iran was ruled by a pro-Western monarchy that had been supported by Western intervention into Iranian affairs and Western money. The Shah of Iran wished to modernize or westernize Iran, which meant restricting many local Iranian and Islamic traditions in the country. As a result, a revolution broke out in 1979, toppling the Shah's government and instituting an Islamic republic under the control of the Ayatollah. Some historians may say that the revolution was a success due to the fact that the Ayatollah brought back many of the fundamental religious rights many Iranians demanded. However, the revolution was more a failure, as shown by Iraq taking advantage of a weakened Iran and invading the nation in 1980, and the huge backlash Iran faced with the Iran hostage crisis that quickly followed the revolution. Therefore, the 1979 revolution in Iran was more of a failure for the people of Iran than a success, as many may believe. 3 questions. Where is the counterclaim? Where is the thesis? And where are my 2 supports? So, counterclaim. The counterclaim is found here. Some historians may say that the revolution was a success due to the fact that the Ayatollah brought back many of the fundamental religious rights many Iranians demanded. And where is my thesis? It begins here. Therefore, the 1979 revolution in Iran was more of a failure for the people of Iran than a success as many may believe. I gave it an evaluation. It's a failure. And where are my two supports? They're found here with however. The revolution was more of a failure as shown by Iraq taking advantage of a weakened Iran and invading the nation in 1980, and the backlash that Iran faced from the Iranian hostage crisis that quickly followed the revolution. There's my two supports. So there we have it. Lesson 1.5 has concluded, and so we have taken a look at thesis development. So can you explain what a thesis statement is? By this lesson, by this point, you should be able to do that. Can you explain the key elements of a thesis statement? So can you explain what LCBC, X, A, and B, and Y are? And can you identify a good, strong thesis versus a weak thesis? If you can actually do that, pat yourself on the back. You did an amazing job. So you want to complete any activities that are assigned to Lesson 1.5. And once you've done that, you and your group can move on to Lesson 1.6. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for your time.